Hi, everybody. Welcome to La Lista, a LatinX writers podcast. My name is Ruben Mendive, and today I have a brand new guest here for us.
Hey, everybody. My name is Daniel Marquez. I am a LatinX creator, writer, and an actor. I'm here to make some magic in the world.
All right, beautiful. The real first question I ask everybody is, where'd you grow up?
So I'm from the IE, Inland Empire. Out here in LA, I just say I'm from Riverside because it's so the town I'm from is called Nuevo, and it's like Riverside County. So I just say Riverside, so I don't need to explain where it's at. But it's called Nuevo. I grew up like in the Paris, Nuevo, Moreno Valley, Menifee area. It's pretty rural. And I was born and raised there, and just moved to LA last year.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
brand new.
So I'm new.
Yeah.
I'm still new to the city.
So tell me about your hometown. You said it's rural. So what do you mean by that?
It's rural. Like everybody has a chicken or a horse or something.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I grew up. We used to have the house that I grew up in. We had a lot of property, so we had all these animals. So I was always in the backyard playing with our chickens and our geese, and just. I think maybe that's where I got my creativity from. I was always just imagining out there just stories and giving the animals personalities and just we lived on this dirt road, so I was always barefoot running up and down playing with my friends, writing stories, drawing, just keeping busy. So it's cool little place. I like it.
Very it's comforting. Interesting because I sort of know where Riverside is, but I don't really imagine like SoCal as like a rural like dirt road kind of place.
Yeah, there's like little like hidden gems here and there. Like it'll be like like a city, and all of a sudden you turn a corner and it's like a dirt road, and like these houses with like 2 acres, and it's crazy. But Nuevo is pretty much all rural. There's like one store there. No, we don't even have any like drive-throughs.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's cool though.
Yeah, so like we would need to drive like 10 minutes to go to the closest like supermarket. And that's crazy because when I moved to LA, I had to adjust to that because I'm used to like seeing like Walmart's like 10 miles from my house. It's like a 10-minute drive. But over here in LA, like 10 miles is like a half an hour, not more.
That's what I tell everybody who's like asking what LA is like. It's like to drive. It takes 30 minutes to get anywhere. At least 30 minutes.
Exactly. And I'm always late anyways.
Yeah.
I gotta work on that. We're Latinos, Latino time. But I had to work. So I had to work on that. I had to adjust and had to add at least 30 minutes to my commute everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm good now though. I was here on time today. So
yeah, I appreciate it.
Good,
like 10 minutes early.
That's 10 minutes early. So we're good.
Yeah. So did you have any siblings, or was it just you alone?
No, I'm the youngest. Okay. I have an older sister and an older brother. I'm like really youngest. Like I think I wasn't planned because my mom and dad had like their boy and their girl, and then like 9 years later I came.
Oh yeah.
My dad always says the TV broke, and I think he's kind of kidding, but like not really. So it's cool.
That's funny.
But yes, I was the youngest. I'm mama's boy. Like I'm such a mama's boy. Yeah. So it's so hard, and that's typical. But it's like I grew up having my older siblings kind of. They were old enough when I was like 10. My brother was like 19.
Yeah.
My sister was like 22. So I grew up around them like they were already adults. So they kind of helped raise me as well as my mom and dad. And today we're all so super close. Like they support me in everything that I do. I'll just like chill with them on the couch and tell them about what I'm writing or what I'm working on. And like
cool.
my brother gives me feedback, sister gives me feedback, and my parents, and they're like, oh, that's cool, And they each give me like different feedback, like. My sister would tell me like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I can see that happening. What if you do this? My brother would be like, oh, that's kind of dumb, but like, I think you should do this. And he'll give me a good note. So I'm like, oh, that's really a good note, actually.
That's cool.
They just have different ways of delivering it, but it's cool. It's a cool little, I have a really, nurturing circle. I feel like to, I'm constantly inspired, and not only my family, but my friends as well. My friends, everybody supports me, and I think it's rare, and I know I'm incredibly blessed to have people who support me so strongly, because you know how it is out here. You can get discouraged by anything, and then, so it's good to have that strong system that's not gonna fall over in the wind. It's gonna keep you strong and steady, and just cool to have that. It's cool to have people that believe in you and really want to see you win and make it. Because I always say, if I win, we all win.
Yeah.
If they win, I win. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's all for the culture. It's all for the people. Like, we're all we're all in this together. You know what I mean? Like, I think any victory is a victory for everybody. So
yeah. So I do want to hear about your parents. Like, what do they do for a living?
My parents they're happily retired, living it. My backyard looks like HGTV, like threw up back there all of a sudden. Cool. Yeah, it's crazy. But they were both. As I was growing up, they were both working. My dad was a truck driver. He would deliver like feed to ranches, because like where I'm from is very it's like a lot of dairies and chicken farms. So he was delivering food there. And then my mom, she was at the same job for like 35 years, I think. 35? I don't know. They're going to get pissed because I just aged them or just aged her. But so I think that's where I learned my hard work morals from. I've always seen them working hard, and they worked hard for what they had. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. We were probably like the definition of middle class, So I grew up comfortable, but I think I still learned that you need to work for what you want, and it's not going to get handed to you. And things don't come easy, and I think that makes things more valuable, actually. You know, and I really learned that from my parents and people around me. Yeah. So they're cool. They're funny. My mom and dad are like couple goals. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's cute. They're always just like chilling, like. When I go visit on the weekends or whatever, or just any day I go visit, they're like in their room, like watching TV or like on Netflix or just like on Facebook and talking about like somebody from high school they used to go to, and like talking shit, whatever. I don't know, whatever they do, but it's really cool to see that. I think it's so rare nowadays to see people still so in love, and after so many years, they were high school sweethearts. Like I think my mom was like 16, my dad was like 18 when they started dating. They were neighbors, and it's crazy how they met, because I know my aunt and uncle were dating first. So my dad married. Okay, hold on. Let me back up a little bit. So my aunt is my mom's sister, obviously, and she married my dad's brother. Oh, yeah. And it happened was that when they were younger, my Theo wanted to take my Thea out. My grandma was like, "Oh, your mom has, your sister has to go with you." So then he brought his brother along, and then they were neighbors, and then so they just kind of met that way, and then. Here we are, like a million years later, with like 3 kids, and but it's cool. It's cool to see that. Yeah, and were your parents originally from where you grew up, or did they move from somewhere else? No, so on my dad's side, I'm first generation. He was born in Mexico. He came when he was really young. I believe he was maybe 6 or 7, and from a very hardworking family. They grew up in the onion fields, and they were hard workers. He always tells me like, oh, like you have summer vacation. When I was at school, you have summer vacations. I hated summer vacation because if I wasn't at school, I had to go work. And then so my dad's a boss. You know what I mean? Like he's been a hard worker for a long time. And my mom was born here. She was born in Riverside. And she grew up in Paris. Not Paris, France. Paris, California. Yeah. She grew up there, and that's where they met. And then we just stayed there since. And is your mom's family from Mexico? Yeah, they're from Mexico. Yeah, they're from Mexico. She's first generation on her dad's. I think my grandma was born here. So she's second generation. So I'm third. Yeah, so third generation of my mom's mom. And second of my mom's dad. Yeah. And first on my dad's side. And do you have a lot of family out here? I have a lot of family out here. Yeah. Like they all live in the same area. I have a few family members who like live up here in LA on my dad's side. And I know some are like in San Diego, but for the most part, like my entire family is like in Riverside County. That's cool. So parties, barbecues, it's always a Thea there, or a cousin, or always someone to go to. If I'm if like my mom and dad like weren't home, like I could just go to my Thea's house and get some food, when I was growing up. So it was cool. Like we're all close, we're all together there. But yeah, so I have a lot of family here. My mom has 4 sisters and 2 brothers,
Mm.
and my dad has 5 sisters and 2 brothers. So it's a lot of cousins and second cousins and third cousins, and and it's cool. It's
And
really
so
cool.
let's talk about, you growing up, like I always ask people this, like, who were you in school? Like, who were you? Who were you pretending to be? Who did people think you were?
I don't want to go there. So in school, I was pretty awkward.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helped me form my sense of humor, because I was never, I don't think you could say, I don't know what I'm trying to say. So, okay, let me tell you from the beginning. When I was little, I was always like the one that was like asking questions, and I was into like weird stuff like aliens, and I wanted to read about like the Loch Ness monster and like Bigfoot. I always had like this hunger for like knowledge, you know what I mean? I was always trying to, like, I was drawing things. I would like design like just like buildings, like houses, and I would write stories, and I always had to be writing something, drawing something. I remember, like, I would look at like a blank page, like in a notebook, and it would just like give me this like magic, you know what I mean? I was I gotta do something on it. So that's when in school I was like writing stories, and I would share them with my classmates. And then so middle school, you know how middle school is. It's like that weird time between like being a kid and like being a young adult. So I was like, oh, it's so awkward. I think that's when I started to realize, that I wasn't that gay, and I was like, I was, oh shit, like I can't be gay. It kind of scared me. So I was like not trying to hide it. I think I was just trying to find a way around it. And then so high school came around, and I went to a super small high school. Like my graduating class had like 80 students.
Oh wow.
Yeah, super small.
Yeah.
It was like an early college high school. So we had the opportunity to gain college credit in high school. So like I said, it's very rural. My high school was like across from a giant like field. Like it was surrounded by fields and sheep.
That's cool.
It's cool. Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool experience. But I wasn't who I am today in high school. Not at all. Like I think I love how I finally accepted myself, and I have so much pride in something that I used to be so ashamed of, and I look back on it now, and I'm like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Like, what would you be if you didn't find that in you? It's kind of scary to think about it, actually, but
yeah, it is actually.
It's crazy, but yeah, it's cool.
So like, what's it like growing up? Like, you're in high school and you're sort of in this rural town with like a small class, like, sort of, where did you fit into that?
So since it was such a small town, I had friends that I went to high school with, that I went to like first grade with. You know what I mean? Like we grew up together. So we were really close, and I have friends now that I'm still super close with, that I was in first grade with. You know what I mean? That I've known since I was a kid. And like I said, we're still really good friends now. Some of my best friends, I went to school. I played t-ball with them. I played t-ball for 1 year, and then I hated it, and I cried every game.
Yeah.
But I think I have a unique experience. I don't have the typical like big high school. You don't like a small fish in a big pond. It was like I was a normal sized fish in a normal sized pond. And I think that helped me a lot. That helped me. I think I am very I'm very easily influenced. So I'm very in tune with like my emotions. So like I get affected by, I get pulled here, pulled there, and like it makes me who I am. So I'm like, I think it's cool that I grew up in that environment, because it made me who I am today. And that's why I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm passionate about, because I had the chance to chase it, and I had the chance to have this support group, and kind of like trial and error of who I was and who I wanted to be. That was it. That's pretty much my high school. You took me down memory lane. Now I'm thinking about it. Jeez.
I try. So what did you do after high school?
After high school, I graduated, and obviously. And I went to college. I went to CBU. I actually went to RCC, as a community college, got my AA, and then I transferred to Cal State San Bernardino, and then from there I transferred to Cal Baptist, where I graduated. And but actually before that, I was super involved in the NHMC, the National Hispanic Media Coalition. And as soon as I graduated high school, actually I owe a lot to the president of NHMC, because when I was 16, I emailed them. And I was like, oh, like I want to be a writer, like, you know, see, I had this writer's program. I have no idea how to start. I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? So Alex Nogales, he read it, I guess, and they came back to me like, oh, you're only 16. Like, let us know when you're 18, and then, you know, we'll go from there. So then, like, 2 years passed, obviously, and then I was like, whatever. Like, I was still writing stories and like all this stuff. And then I was 18, I graduated high school, and I was like, shit, like, what am I gonna do? And I was like, oh, you know what, let me hit him up again. And so he took me in for an interview, and like, I'm telling you, like, I owe so much to him and the organization, because he saw something in me that I don't think I even saw yet. You know what I mean? Like, I looked at the stuff that I sent him, and I was like, oh my god, like, it's so like, it's like cringy, you know what I mean? But like, he liked it, and I was in the writers program, and I was 18 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's when I met a lot of, you know, these writers who became my mentors and are still like friends today, you know. Like a few of those writers are actually working on the web series I created. And you know, I started coming to like the MediaCon. I started coming to these events and, like, you know, meeting these influential Latinos in the industry. And at first I was like, holy shit, I remember I went to a event and John Seda was there, and Edward James Olmos, and, you know, they're Chris and Abraham from Selena. And that shit was my movie. Like, oh my god, you know, I watched that movie. Selena was like, you know, my everyday movie when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like, I even wore a Selena shirt today almost, but I think I had a stain on it, so I didn't wear it. But I loved it. So I remember I was there, and I was like, oh my god, like you're in the bathroom next to John Seda, you're next to Chris. And I was like, don't say anything stupid. I was gonna say, should I quote the movie? I was like, no, just wash your hands and get out. You know what I mean? But that really kind of showed me like, oh shit, this can happen for you. You know what I mean? People believe in you. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And I did the program again in 2012 when I was 19, and then so that's what I did after high school. And I think that to me was more of a like college experience than actually going to college, because you know, I was thrown in the water, and, you know, I had to swim, and I was lucky that I have people like Alex and the writers in there that, you know, helped me through it. And I learned so much in those programs, you know what I mean? And it really fed my drive. It really fed me. It really made me want more. You know what I mean? It showed me that this can be a thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't just need to write stories and keep them in your notebook. Like, people do this shit and, you know, make money off of it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like a job.
It isn't even about that, though. You know what I mean? It's not even about the money. It's just about like seeing a part of you like come out and be brought to life. And it's I don't know, probably like childbirth, you know, the equivalent. You know, seeing a baby come out, I don't know, but it's crazy to me. And I look back on it now, and I'm like, man, like, I'm so grateful for that organization. They're still today, you know, they're still up today. I'm sure you heard of them. Yeah. They're doing a lot of great things. So I still go to the events, and I keep in contact with Alex, Cruz Castillo. He was here a couple weeks ago. You said, Brenda. Yeah. So they're all, you know, great people. It's a great organization that I'm very, very grateful for. Yeah. Probably gonna say that like for the rest of my life, but I'm cool, you know?
Yeah. And so like what was the thing that like compelled you to like look up a writer's program, email like the people there? Like what was that thing? What was that drive? Where did that come from?
Okay, you know what's crazy? You're gonna think I'm weird. But it's okay. But I don't remember. I really think it was one of those like divine interventions. I'm like, why? I'm like, what made me look them up? And because people asked me that before, like, how'd you find us? Like, you know, did you hear about us somewhere? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know, honestly. Yeah. And I'm like, what brought me to them? I think it's one of those things that the universe just kind of, you know, does this thing and puts you where it wants you to be. Because I honestly don't know how I found them, but I did. Yeah. And you know, and it took off from there. And
what about like the writing? Where did that come from?
So like I said, I've always been, you know, a writer, a creator. I think I was like 13 when I wrote my first sitcom. And
how did you even know? Like,
I honestly, I didn't even know. I think it was like it probably a rip off of all these shows. I don't know what it was. It's probably like I Love Lucy meets, I don't know, Fresh Prince. It was weird.
Yeah.
But I've always done that, and then it's always been something that I wanted to pursue, but I was always like, I don't know how. Like I said, I don't know how to do it. I didn't know it was a thing. Obviously, I knew people made it, but I never saw myself on TV. I never saw, brown people on TV, Latinos, and it was, and if we did, it was rare, and if we did, we were portrayed in not the best ways. So I never thought I can do it, and then I was always just taking inspiration from everything, taking stories that I hear from my parents, from my tias and tios and my cousins and friends, and like just like letting it resonate in me, and then turning it into something that it's a little bit of my own, but it has roots in realism, and it's crazy. The process now amazes me. Like I'll think of something now and I'll be like, oh, that'd be cool, and then like all of a sudden, like overnight, it'll like marinate, I guess, I don't know, and then tomorrow I'm like, oh shit, like give me a pencil and write it down real quick, I gotta write this, and then I write it, and like over time it just develops into something that I'm like, holy shit, like what I mean, I like it, and I'm proud of it. But yeah, so I think I've always been a storyteller. I've always been a storyteller. I remember when I was in kindergarten, I made this whole story about my sister being pregnant, and she was like, she was young, so
oh my god,
my teacher was like, oh, congratulations, and then she comes to pick me up, and then because she was older by then, and then she was like, you made up a whole story about me being pregnant, and everyone at the school thinks I'm pregnant now, and then all this stuff happens, but I was like, I've always been a storyteller.
Yeah, just being creative.
I've always been creative. Yeah, I've always made things more interesting.
Yeah,
that's what I like to call it. But
yeah. And so, like, did you study writing in college, or what was that like?
I studied communications. That's what I got my degree in, because I wanted something as a backup. You know what I mean? I wanted to have something that was going to pay the bills while I pursued this, because by that time I knew a little bit more about the industry, and I saw that it's a rough industry. It's what I mean. It's hit and miss. Yeah, and it takes resilience, and that was still when I was trying to come into who I was. So I was like, I don't know if I can. I don't know what, like, you know what I mean. I got my degree in communications with a mass media concentration, and that's what I studied. A lot of interpersonal communication classes, a lot of like media classes, so it was somewhat related still. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I studied like neuroscience, whatever. Yeah. I probably can't even spell neuroscience, but But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, and so like you graduate, you have your degree. So what comes next after that?
What comes next? I worked at a school. I worked at a school while I was getting my degree. And I was an aide in the special education classroom. We worked with kindergarten through 5th grade, and that was a crazy experience. You know what I mean? I think that really made me more compassionate. It opened my mind to disabilities and just different people in general. I saw families who I didn't see before, you know what I mean? Like the different situations, and it was really eye-opening for me, and I loved it. We had kids there with like autism and Down syndrome. Some were had ED, which is emotionally disturbed, and it really opens your heart to them, because you're like, this is their most influential stage right now, like, you know what I mean? So there was times when I had to be like their backbone, because their home life was not there, or like they didn't have a strong role model, and that was kind of thrown at me, and I was like shit, like, you know what I mean? Like you're the person, like the teachers are amazing, like we need to give them like all the money in the world, you know what I mean? They're so underpaid, they're so underappreciated, because when I worked with those teachers there, I worked with 3 teachers in particular, and they like I saw how much they put into, how much they invested, not only, you know, money, but like, you know, themselves, like, you know, spiritual, you know, the spirit, like their soul, like into these kids' well-being. And seeing it develop, seeing these kids change, seeing these kids, you know, maybe like learn how to write their name. And even though it's for me and you know what I mean, that's simple, but to them that was such a milestone, and I was so proud, and I was like, oh my god, like you wrote your name. And then they were so proud, and then like it was intense. It was an intense job. You know what I mean? Like there was times I had to run, I had to, you know, chase, I had to, you know, separate fights, but I loved it. I really loved it. But that was while I was in school. So once I graduated, I was like, oh, I think I gotta leave. Like I gotta go pursue what I want to pursue. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, it was really hard to do that. It was really hard to decide that it was time. But I'm somebody that gets comfortable, so I have to work. Yeah, I have to work to, you know, to push myself. I'm like, no, I crave that success. I crave bigger, better things. So I'm like, no, so I have to go for it. You know what I mean? Because I know no one's gonna hand it to me. So that's when I had to make the decision to come to LA, and I loved it. You know, I love coming out here. Yeah, I miss my kids, and you know, yeah, I know I'm on the path to some pretty cool things. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah. So you mentioned that you've only lived in, you know, LA for like a year. Yeah. So what's that year been like, you know, for everyone who's like in the middle of it or about to like embark on this first year in LA? It changed me. It made me so optimistic and so positive. I really, cause you know, we live in a bubble. Even LA, we live in a bubble. Like we're like just here, and there's like the whole world to see. And then I kind of got a taste of that when I was living in my little bubble, and then I came out here, you know, and it was just a whole different experience with, you know, meeting people and being independent, being on my own. Like I said, I'm a mama's boy. So I was like, she texts me every night still. And I'm like, so oh, cute. Yeah. My mom did the same thing. The first year I moved here, she texted me every single day. Really? Yeah. If it stops, I'm going to let her know. Like, Mom, come on. Where my message is at? I think my mom was just checking out. It's still alive. So, really? Yeah, well, no, I get a text. Yeah. Like, she's like, good night, love you. I'm like, good night, love you too. Like, every night. That's cute. It is, I know. But I'm a huge mama's boy. So moving out here, I was like, oh my God, like, where's my mom at? Like, you know what I mean? I want to go home for the first whatever. And then just learning how to be an adult, man. Like, you know, paper towels just don't appear in the pantry. You gotta go buy them. I remember I took a shower and I didn't have any towels. Like, oh my God, I don't have any towels. What do I do? So I had to use like a shirt to dry off. Yeah. And I had to go to Ross the next day and buy towels. And that's funny. It was cool, but it's like, you know, you got to be out here for it. You know what I mean? And there's so many things happening that you can go and be a part of. You know, there's like showcases, and there's you know, organizations that you can, you know, apply with, and like writers groups, and or even you know, create your own shit. Like, you know, people make with the iPhones today, and like, you know, the technology that we have at hand, like we can make some amazing shit. Yeah. And you know what I mean? I think that's the great thing about, you know, being a creator in this day and age is that there's so many resources that you can go to. And I think finally, as you know, as being Latino, we finally have, you know, our platform. We finally have our stage. And yeah, it's small, but it's growing. Yeah, we're gonna get there. You know, our renaissance is coming. So you know, I'm glad that people are starting to put that attention into, you know, getting more diversity. You know, and really, you know, focusing on inclusion, not only for Latinos, but, you know, like Asian Americans, African Americans, you know, and you know, every bring that diversity in general. Yeah. And I love that. I love that, you know, I'm seeing all these different faces on TV and different stories and different cultures, and not only in TV but in movies too. And I think it's amazing. Like, I'm so excited for, you know, what's coming. Yeah. Yeah. And so you were talking about the two bubbles between like LA and where you grew up. So what were like some of the differences? Like I mentioned before, that like driving, you know, the 10 miles to drive, you know, 30 minutes drive 10 miles. What else changed? I just feel like different people, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a completely different environment. like I could turn on the TV and see, you know, like my hometown, like my city that I live in on TV, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I was just there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like the downtown skyline, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
crazy. Or like you know, just being yourself out here, and then you know nobody really knows you, so you can kind of experiment with, you know, who you are and, you know, what you're gonna do. It's a cool thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had a bad experience. Knocking on wood now.
Yeah.
But you know, it's really eye opening, like I said, and I love LA. I know it's like a thing like stop moving to LA because, you know, whatever, but I love LA. I'm like I want to, like, I could say, you know, it's my city because I live in it. I know I wasn't native, so I know people are gonna be like, no, you can't, you know, you can't do that.
That's fine.
I love it.
You know, I feel like Riverside's not that far, so
It's not that far. It's
more
like,
people claim it that are further away.
yeah, I'm being dramatic by saying
Yeah.
I go home. It's like an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
And then you know, it's cool, but
Yeah.
it's still close enough so I can go, you know, visit my family. Like I said,
Yeah.
mama's boy. But but it's still far enough. You know, I had to come do my stuff, and and you know, I'm working hard for it. So
Yeah. So what have you been working on since you've been here? What is, you know, that been like?
since I've been here, I am working on a web series. It's called Graceful, and it is a Latino sitcom, and we're going to launch it on social media. We're going to launch it on Facebook and Instagram, and you know, with the goal of you know, funding a pilot and shooting it. I'm also going to be the lead in it. Not the lead. I'm a lead. It's an ensemble show. It's about Grace, who is a young middle-aged Latina, who loses everything in a fire. She loses her business, and, you know, then she loses her house, her sanity. So her and her dysfunctional adult children are forced to move back into her super overbearing, super Latina traditional mother's house. And it's in San Diego. It takes place in San Diego. So we're working on that. We're working on casting that right now. It's kind of hard because the characters are so specific that it's hard to cast, you know, the right person.
Yeah.
So
Wait, so who are you playing?
I am playing Grace's son. His name is Cisco, who is like a lovable goofball who doesn't always think his decisions through, who doesn't always, you know, he's very impulsive.
Yeah.
He's gay in the show, and I really like that because I feel like, you know, we're starting to see, you know, ourselves on TV now, but I think he's a very honest portrayal of, you know, the standard, like, you know, gay male, like, you know what I mean? When I was young, I didn't see any on TV, and then, you know, so I hope that Cisco is going to be the person that I needed to see on TV when I was 14 and thought I was broken, you know what I mean? And thought thought something was wrong with me. But we're going to see Cisco, who is this guy who, he's gay, but he's not known for being gay. He's a character. He has a life. He has a narrative. Yeah. And, he happens to be gay. Yeah. He doesn't know how to flirt. You know, like in the show, he's gonna, like, you know, download Grindr, and it's gonna be a disaster. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know, like, what's going on. Like, he just got his eyebrows done for the first time, so he's all proud of himself. But then, you know, like, he's we're gonna see him find himself too. Yeah. And it's a comedy, so it's done in a funny way. But every character on that show is amazing. Like Grace, she's in the show, she's 40. And her kids are 25 and 23, and then so it's kind of like, oh, that's super young, but no, because she had her daughter the day of her quinceañera, and then she had me, Cisco, the day of prom. So she was 18 with 2 kids. So this woman's a badass, you know what I mean? We see her have these 2 young kids. She was like, you know, forget the stereotypes. I'm gonna, you know, she went for what she wanted. She used to bake cakes, so now she had her bakery. She built an empire. You know, after her husband died, so she was a single mother, building this empire, and then so now we see her as this strong, like, powerful force who just happens to be in a slump right now because her bakery burnt down, and you know.
And where did, like, the inspiration for this come from?
I think the inspiration came from, you know what, that's a good question. Everybody asks me that, and I think it's just like, you know what's crazy? So all of my projects feature very strong women, and somebody pointed that out to me, and they go, your women characters are very strong, and they're very it's very full of like empowerment.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? And I stepped back and I was like, oh, it is like the women in Graceful are badass. Like they're like, they drive the show. And yeah, like the guy like Cisco and the guys in there they're there too, but like they don't drive the show.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, you know, the way I was raised, like my mom is a badass. Like, you know, she's a strong woman. My tia, my sister is so strong. You know, she's probably one of my biggest influencers. She's gonna hear this and cry probably, but I've seen her get, you know, thrown left and right, and she still comes out with a smile, and she still comes out, you know, so faithful and so positive. Even like at my job at the school, I worked with women teachers, and then even at my jobs now, like I work around a lot of women, like my tias and my friends. So I think I'm very strong. I've just been around strong women my whole life. Like my grandmother, you know, helped raise me, you know, since from a young age. She used to live with us. So, I think I kind of put that into Graceful, and I kind of, cause what I wanted to do with it is kind of tell a story that had a lot of heart, but also very funny. So the Graceful is it's a very emotional story, but it's also goofy and quirky, and, you know, has like outrageous like situations like, oh my god, you know, only them would get into, but at the same time it's like, oh, like you can relate to it because it has like, you know, like relationships and, you know, stuff that I think is not really dealt with on, you know, like mainstream television. But should be. Because, you know, we need to see ourselves on TV. I think it helps, you know, development. It helps us. It helps our mental health, all that stuff, you know? So I think that's where Graceful came from. And of course the family dynamic in there is what I grew up with. Like, I'm sure my family's going to see so much of them in there. My friends are going to see so much of them in there. You know what I mean? Like one of the characters is pretty much a mix of like my brother and like a bunch of my friends into one person, and then, you know, it's that character. So it's cool. I'm excited for it. We hope to launch it very soon.
And, you know, you sort of hinted at like, you know, you've sort of like come more into like your queerness. So like, what's that journey been like? You know, coming from like Paris to like here, like.
So, like I said, it's crazy how I have so much pride now in something that I used to be so ashamed of. Like I never planned on coming out when I was in high school. I was like, oh, like, I'm not gonna, you know, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, you know, I'll just live with it. And I'm like, oh my god, like, thank the universe, thank God, thank creators, you know, whatever you believe in. I'm so thankful that I found the strength in me to do that. And that's why I'm so passionate about bringing these, you know, these queer characters to you know, TV and movies. And most of all my projects all feature, you know, queer characters. You know, obviously it's it's part of me. So, and I remember the NHMC, they have these Latino scene showcases, and so I wrote this feature when I was like 18. It's called Barrio Boys, and it takes place here in LA, and it's about these four Latinos who, after high school, it's kind of like their journey after high school, finding themselves, you know, they just turned 18, so now they're going separate ways. They grew up together, and one of the boys in there, he's gay, and so there's a scene that he comes out to his grandma. And it's funny because I remember I submitted like 3 scenes, and that one got chosen. So I was like, what do you mean they're gonna do my like? It was the first time they brought my work to life. The first time I saw my writing like done. Like the first time it wasn't just on a page and paper and, you know, with ink and a pencil. It was like real life. People were doing this shit, and I was like, it was overwhelming to me. And then I was like, shit, like they're gonna think it's me because it's him coming out to his grandma. And then so I remember when it was I went to the meetings, and like I was so naive. Like I was so excited. Like it was like, oh, come to like the first like read through, right? So I went and bought like a nice button up. Like I was so excited about like her outfit. Yeah. It was cool. It was funny. But I was so excited, and I got there, and like I met the actors, and like I had to hold back tears. I was like, Daniel, you're not gonna cry. You are not gonna cry. Relax. So then I was okay. So I remember like when they were gonna do it, they were gonna do that night, a whole showcase, and then my family came, like my mom, my dad, and my siblings. You know, they came and they saw it, and then like they loved it, and then I was so proud of it, and they recorded it. So like the next day, like my tias came to my house to watch it on our TV and on YouTube, and like, you know, like my brother-in-law's family came down too. You know, we were really close to them, and it was like a big thing. They came to watch it, and then one of my tias was like, "Are you trying to tell us you're gay?" And I was like, no, like no, of course not. And then so then mom was like, oh, she was like, what? She was like, oh, she was asking me about it, and I remember I was always like, mom, like, you can write stuff that you don't know. I would always say, do you think the writer of The Silence of the Lambs like is really a murderer?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's my go-to. And then
wait, so this whole thing's going on, and you're not even out.
I'm not out yet. No, I wasn't out yet.
How are you not like just sweating bullets?
I was. So now you know, and you can understand why I was like.
I'm sick right now just thinking about it.
It was terrifying, and I was like, okay. I was like, no, you're not. Like they're not gonna guess it. But then they asked me. I was like, oh my god. So finally, when I but you know what though, that helped me come out. That scene helped me come out. I think that really showed my mom, because the scene was it was very emotional. Because the grandma knows that he's gay, and then she kind of tells him, and he starts breaking down, and then she tells him like, you know, like when you were a little boy, I still loved you, and look at the same brown eyes, and I love you even more now. Like I'm not gonna not love you because you love a man. So then like I think that really helped. That really helped smooth the transition to me coming out. And you know, yeah, it's funny now. Yeah. It's funny now, but it was terrifying when it happened. But I think it really smoothed that transition to come out to my parents and my family. And who, by the way, have all been very supportive about it. You know, and I know that's rare, and I'm very blessed for that, because I know, you know, I've heard stories of, you know, parents throwing out their children, and that's horrible. Like, you know, I can't even imagine like if my mom turned me away. Yeah, that would be like the ultimate heartbreak for me. So I can't imagine how that is for people, and you know, I think that's really a driving force for me to put our stories out there. And provide that, like that character who's gonna be a comfort for somebody who's maybe not out yet, and maybe who can't come out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like I said, I want to see the characters that I wanted to see when I was 14. You know, so that's my hope. Like I hope, you know, maybe some, I don't know, like young kid who's like struggling with it sees it, and he's like, oh, like, you know, it's okay. It's okay to be who you are. And it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? People love you. You're loved. The community loves you. You know, I went to Pride in LA here. And I saw like the free mom hugs. Oh yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that was like heartbreaking to me. And I saw like, this guy go hug a woman, and like he started crying, and she was crying. Like, these total strangers. I go, but there's so much love still in this community for each other. And I was like, you know, so I'm really passionate about that, and helping, you know, supporting, helping in any way I can with that. But so most of my projects do feature queer characters, whether they're the lead or they're just, you know, a background character. I think because, you know, we exist, you know, we're queer and we're here, you know. How does it go? We need that same recognition that, you know, everybody else gets, you know. And I know people are probably going to be against it, but hey, you know, it's reality.
Yeah, but you know, it speaks to the same conversation about how we like anytime we see like Latinx people on screen or in media, we're always like yes, it's a win for us. We see ourselves reflected back. And it goes to the same thing with like queer Latinx people, you know, like we don't have a ton to pick from. So like, that's why it's important to like put our voices out there, put the representation out there, because you're right. You don't know the kid who's like so desperately looking for someone that's like him, and to even see it in the media, that counts. Even if it's not someone in his family or in his neighborhood or in his town, if he can go on the internet and look it up and see if there's someone like him, like that changes your world, you know?
Exactly. No, and it does. Like, that's an understatement, probably. You know, it really. I think that can be a matter of life and death to some people, and you know, I know it sounds harsh, and I know it sounds scary, but it's reality. So I think that's the bigger picture here, is, you know, providing, you know, these characters that people, not only queer people can see, but
Yeah.
like I said, Latinx people can see as well, and see themselves on portrayed, and see themselves living a life, a normal life on TV, because they know like the early portrayals of Latinos were all like we're all like drug dealers, or like cartels, or like the maid, or like the babysitter. And I'm like, no, like growing up, I would see that and it would baffle me. I was like, where's us? Like, where's my mom and dad? Where's me? Where's my tias and tios? Like, having a party, drinking beer, just chilling, like, making a contribution to society. And I do, like, come on, you know what I mean? So I think, and I see this now with shows like Vida, really bringing that home. Pose, do you watch Pose?
Yeah,
and Vida?
obsessed.
Oh man, I it makes me like, I get overwhelmed. I don't even know the emotion's name. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, like I watched it on my phone one day and I was just looking at it, and then like the scene ended and the screen went black, and I just saw me like looking at the screen, and I was smiling, and I was like, why are you smiling? You're watching TV. And I was like, because you just saw yourself. Yeah. You just saw this, these brown gay boys.
Yeah.
You just saw like these people in Vida who like, who talk like your tia and your tío, and who I feel like I can call them up right now and talk to them. And it's so like, it's so inspiring, to say the least. It's really inspiring. I love how we're making strides towards the bigger picture, and how we're making strides towards getting ourselves a recognition that we not only need but deserve. It's essential for our culture. We're not hidden anymore. I'm a firm believer that I know today we face a lot of discrimination, and we like if I get when I go down the street holding hands with some boy, if I were to I'm gonna get looks. I'm gonna get stares. I'm gonna get people who are like, oh, they shouldn't do that. Get around. You know what I mean?
And people don't really understand that, like, even in LA, like it's like, it's I don't always feel like immediately like I'm like, nope, don't do that, because it's a lot of like stuff that's trained in within you.
Yeah.
It's also, you don't really see it around, so you don't want to be the only person doing it. And it's also like still very dangerous. You don't know who's walking by. You don't know who's driving by.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is that like we face that today still, but like even like 20, 30 years ago, like they had it so much worse. So we really need to hand it to our older generation, the older generation of LGBT, because men and women, because I'm like, you guys, we owe them so much, because we can get looked for holding hands, but they got almost killed.
And fired and
it was okay. It was okay to fire them for being gay. It was fine. You know what I mean? I had a few people in my life are like in their 50s, 60s, and who are LGBT, and I'm like, man, like I can't thank you enough, like, for what you did. For you couldn't go to Pride. You couldn't go to this Pride and have fun with your friends. You couldn't. You didn't have WeHo. You didn't have Hillcrest. You didn't have. I mean, it was there, but it was more like, careful, because you know what's gonna happen.
Like, and you don't know who you're gonna run into, and like who's gonna see you, and
you don't have that freedom. And I just saw a video the other day. I think it was on Facebook about the LGBT older people who went to their first Pride. And I was like, oh my God, like we have, like I said, we really need to hand it to them, so much respect, because to me it's incredible too that they had to live that life. Because
I know a couple, queer folks that are in their 40s, and like the way they look at like younger people, they're like, sometimes I get the sense that they're like part of them feels like they're missing out. Things weren't like that when they were like, so it's such a weird generational divide of how we're living and growing up in our queerness as opposed to how they were doing it. But it's really like it's all to their credit. And sometimes I feel like, I don't know, there's like a little bit of FOMO to be like I never got to do that at that age. But it's like, because you like did so much more, it's like, it's such an interesting, like, the generational divide, and like, and different experiences of it.
Definitely that I agree with you what you're saying 100%. It's and I feel like there's so much more to say about it. It's a whole different conversation. It really is, you know what I mean? But it's so like it to me. It's kind of, it makes me sad a little bit.
Yeah,
you know, like you said, it makes me sad. 'Cause I'm like, you didn't have this opportunity, but they're so resilient. Like that's us, you know. We're resilient, man. We you can't break us. You know what I mean? You may think we're weak, but we're not. We're here.
Yeah,
we're
truly
strong.
though. They try to make us all go away, and now there's more of us than ever. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you know, those people back then that, you know, that are still married today, you know, they were like, you know, fuck society. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna love who I want to love. If you don't like it, you know, fire me, beat me up.
Yeah.
And they did it. I was like, I don't know what I would do if I was back then. I honestly can't, you know, can't speak for how I would have been if I was living back then. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. But you know, it's a whole, I guess it's a whole different conversation. We could be here for another few more hours talking about that.
So I did want to talk about, you know, just like how you like saw your identity growing up, you know, like you're a Latinidad, like, like, did you have a sense of it? Or did you just grow up around a lot of other Latinx folks? It wasn't really a thing you thought about, or like what was your experience of like being Latinx?
Well, where I grew up is very diverse. You know, there's like a lot of like Latinx. There's also a lot of like African American influence. There's a lot of, you know, Caucasian influence there also. So I was exposed to all kinds of cultures growing up. And growing up, so here's the funny thing: Spanish was my first language when I was a little boy. I was growing up. We had a nanny, a living nanny with me, and she spoke Spanish. So I spoke Spanish too. And I went to kindergarten, and then I kind of started speaking English. So like now, like my Spanish, like I can understand it, but I probably can't say that I'm fluent.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I'm fluent, because you could talk to me right now, and I'll know everything you're saying.
Yeah, and
like if I know what to say to you, I'll say it, but like. I need to speak it slow because I'm like, hold on, okay, but I got it. You know, I can do it. I can do it.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah,
you're in the same boat.
We have a really awkward conversation in Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm probably not going to conjugate right.
No,
that's what I struggle with, the conjugation.
Yeah, I mix up two words just because they sound similar, or I try to like make an English word into Spanish. Yeah, just by adding like an O, and I'm like, that's not right at all. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it gets across. Like you could say I'll probably say I'm fluent in Spanglish. You know what I mean? Because my family is fluent. My mom and dad are fluent. You know what I mean? I've been around Spanish speakers my whole life. So growing up, I kind of didn't know any different. I was kind of like, oh, this is normal. And I was like, and I went to like, you know, a bigger city out here, and I'm like oh, like there's, you know, there's more people like me out here. You know what I mean? Because I always kind of felt like to quote Selena again, you know what I mean? I go back to Selena, but because you know how she didn't speak Spanish, she wasn't fluent, but you couldn't tell. You look at her legacy is still living on, like how many years later. Yeah. So even in the movie, I just watched it on Wednesday again at the rooftop cinema. When her dad's like, we have to be more American than the Americans, more Mexican than the Mexicans, and then I feel like that's kind of like where I was at, because I was kind of always like I was brown, you know what I mean? So I was never in one category, you know what I'm trying to say here? Yeah. So I was always too Mexican for Americans, but then since I wasn't fluent in Spanish and, you know, I couldn't have a conversation with, you know, somebody's mom or dad, I was always like too Americanized, quote unquote, for the, you know, Mexican Americans, for the Latinos, you know, the Latinx. So but I think that we have that it's a whole different kind of group that is forming because of that. Because there's so many people out there who were just like me. Oh, absolutely. Like us. Every person on this podcast, the one thing they all have in common besides being writers and being Latinx is that they don't feel like they're Latinx enough. Really? Yeah. Really? Well, see, I'm very proud of my culture. I'm very in tune with it. You know, like we celebrate, you know, like I went to my grandma's house for like, you know, Christmas Eve, you know, we do Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Yeah, we do. You know, we ate tamales, you know, we made tamales. We have quinceañeras, you know, stuff like that. So I was very my like speaking like culture wise, I was very Latinx, and I still am. You know what I mean? But like I said, the only thing that holds me back is just
there's that
it.
there's that like a lot of us are in that middle area where and it's I feel like we do it to ourselves, we do it to each other, where it's like
exactly.
But I think it's that whole thing, it's very much like one foot in each culture, not from here, not from there. And I think we just have to start acknowledging that we're a new thing, that we have our place in the middle, and we can, and it's not like we're from neither world, like neither accepts us fully. It's like, no, we're from both, and like we're a part of both. And
exactly. That's why, and I really kind of get like not so much offended. I just kind of get like like irritated when, because I'm very proud of my culture. I'm very proud to be Mexican. I'm I'll claim that forever. I'm so proud of it. So proud of my family. Where I'm from, and I hate when people are like, oh, how are you so proud of it and you can't even speak Spanish? And I'm like, that's so rude. Like that's not, you can't say that. Like that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous to even think about. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah,
because we're setting a standard for.
So
and it's like not everybody's story is the same. Like.
I mean, so what should I do? I should say I'm not Mexican because I can't speak Spanish. Like, no, like, you know what I mean? I love my culture. I love where I come from. I appreciate. I think it's a beautiful culture. I think all culture is beautiful. But so coming from one that is so beautiful, I'm like so proud of it. I'm so proud of our traditions and our just way of living, and I think it's unfair to say that I can't claim that because I don't speak it properly. And in the moment, people are so much more forgiving of your bad Spanish. Like sometimes for work I have to speak to crowds in Espanol, and it's like sometimes I'm like can't find the right word, or I'm trying to translate something that I can't like really figure out. And sometimes people in the crowd will help me. They'll like say the word because some of them are bilingual, so they know what I'm trying to say. Okay, But like people get the gist of what I'm saying. Like nobody's like, oh, screw this guy. They're just like, no, he's one of us. He's struggling a little bit. Let's help him out. And then I think language is so cool because you can like, it's all pretty much the same. It just kind of like a little tweaks here and there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you can figure it out. You can kind of put it together. Yeah, we get the gist of it. That's why Spanglish is like such a natural combination, because they do fit very well together. And it's not that big of a stretch for some of the words, I think too though, when I speak English, people think I have an accent. Like a small accent. I'm like, I don't think so. And when I speak Spanish, you'll be like, oh, you can tell you're not a native Spanish speaker because you have an accent. I'm like, okay, well, I have an accent. Cool. Deal with it. And like sometimes I think that too. Like I get tripped up in English, or like I feel like my tongue is too big for my mouth. And I'm just like, I feel like because I grew up learning one language, my tongue is like used to speaking a certain way, and now I'm trying to like, I transitioned to English fully, but that like the muscle is still there that I'm trying to like work out, but. This is one of those moments because I'm having right now, because I'm like, there's more people like me out there. You know what I mean? It's not just me. I thought it was like only a few of us out there, but and that's why people are like making fun of me of my English sometimes. I'm like, give me a break. English is my second language. Like sometimes, like there's some words that I just won't know or like can't pronounce really well, just because I think it's like, it's you move your mouth differently with both languages. So that's why like white people sound so awkward. They're trying to like speak Spanish because they're not using. But it's just like this. Now I'm like trapped in the middle, truly, and like now I'm like mumbling and like blah blah through both languages. Exactly. That's so funny because it's so true. You know what I mean? It's so true. But I get what you're saying. Because it makes total sense. How the mouth moves. So I'm like, give me a break. Exactly. All right. So I did want to ask about other writers you admire. These could be like your heroes. This could be, peers of yours, people you just see that are out there doing their thing and you like, people you're Instagram stalking, like just like any writers you admire. So there's a lot of, this is a long one. Okay. You ready for it? Go for it. Okay. So not only do I, so when I'm a writer, so I also write like scripts, but I also write like novels and stuff. I'm writing a novel now, so I think my writing, is heavily influenced by like Sandra Cisneros. Oh my god, I love Sandra Cisneros. Like I read we all read The House on Mango Street, right? Classic. I think high school had it at birth. Yeah, right. I read it like it's such a quick read, but it's so heavy. It's like so like, oh my god, like, I love it. I love her style, her vignettes, and so and also her novels, Carmelo. It's she's an amazing writer. So I'm heavily influenced by her. Julia Alvarez. Have you heard of her? I know she's, she wrote the Time of the Butterflies, which is a historical fiction about the Mirabal sisters in Dominican Republic. It's a beautiful book. Like, have you read it?
I haven't read it. I've heard of it, though. I can't recommend it enough. Okay. Everyone I talk to about books, I'm like, read The Time of the Butterflies, because so there's 4 sisters, and like each sister has their own way of telling the story. Like, one sister is all first person, and next chapter is from the narrative of another sister who's all in third person, and one sister writes all like in diary entries. So like the book is like first person, third person diary entries, and it's crazy and it's amazing and it's beautiful. Let me think. I think all the writers on Vida are great. You know what I mean? I think that we're doing some good stuff. I mentioned that already. Some good stuff. Tanya Saracho, man. She's like my godmother, my fairy godmother. I know, truly though.
I feel like she comes to me in my dreams and like touches my forehead and gives me my creativity. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
she's
I'll randomly come across an interview she did like that week, and I'm like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Like,
she's such a beautiful being. I'm like, you're such a she's such a amazing positive force in the industry for the culture.
Truly though.
Like Josefina Lopez too. I love Josefina Lopez.
Yeah.
It was crazy because I remember I used to always admire her, and I went to a few events. She was there talking, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's Josefina Lopez!" You know what I mean? And then I know she has a restaurant in Boyle Heights, and I would go to it for like some writers workshops or actors workshops, And then so she ended up becoming a mentor to me. Like we talk, and I was like, it's crazy to have somebody that I looked up to for so long, like admired. All of a sudden, like being someone that I could talk to on a one-on-one basis, you know what I mean? I think that's crazy, and I'm so grateful for her and the advice she's given me over the the years.
Like I could sit down and listen to her talk for 8 hours.
Oh, definitely.
Just be like, this is all information I need to know.
Exactly, and thank you for blessing me with these words. You know what I mean? I'm also grateful for some of the writers I met in the writers program who helped work on Graceful, my web series. Divine Galeano, Tina Thompson, Yoli Cortez, and Ken Jovanovic. So the 3 women, Tina, Yoli, and Dyrene, we had like a writer's room type thing. You know what I mean? Like where we sat together and discussed the show, and pitched here and there. Ken's on the East Coast, so he kind of did like a freelance script here and there. So he contributed that way. But I'm grateful for all of them because they're all these amazing writers who I'm like, you guys like who took my idea and like ran with it, and I was like, that was so surreal to me to see these talented people like lending me their talent to help my vision become something. You know what I mean? And they're all amazing writers who have their own things going on too. You know what I mean? Like especially like Dyrene and Tina, we can sit and like pitch our stuff back and forth and give notes, and I'm like, oh my God, like, dude, like that's amazing. I'm like, that's a really good, I guess a good idea you have, and it'll go from. So I'll watch like their process and I'll learn from their process, and it's just I think the writing community is so great because it's so supportive, because we know how writing can be so fulfilling. But it's so like it just tears your soul apart. You know what I mean? Like I'll get depressed because I wrote like a sad scene. Like, oh my God, like, I'm so sad right now. Like, I'll be in like a weird mood because of it. Yeah. Or like I'll just like write something. But sometimes at the same time, like writing can be like something that helps you. Like helps you heal. Like I remember there's this gay Latinx. It's Latinx. I think it's just POC LGBT magazine. That they were asking for like personal narratives, and then that was the first time I got paid for my writing. So that kind of showed me, oh shit, like I got $80, and I was like, this is the best $80 I've ever had in my life. And I wrote like a personal narrative about like like my heartbreak, when I got my heart broken, and I felt good after that. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I wrote it and like I kind of just left it there.
Yeah, you released it.
I released it and it was good. Like, it was there, and I'm good now. I'm done. Like it helped me, put it into perspective. I got money for it. So that kind of showed me like, oh shit, you can get money. Like you're good enough to get money for it.
And for your art, for your pain, for like all your truth.
It came out, and I was always like, okay, am I good enough? You know how millennials are. I guess you can say millennial. I don't know. I guess it's everybody. Yeah. Our society is so heavy today, so we're always like, oh, we can be good, better than that person. Are we good enough for this? Good enough for that? So that kind of showed me like, oh, you are good enough. You know what I mean? Your writing is something that can get you money. You can get paid for. so that kind of gave me that little ego boost that was essential to kind of,
Yeah.
pump it up.
Yeah, there's something like that, like reaffirming like,
Yeah,
the thing you're working at.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those writers are definitely people that I look up to. Not only, and then I know like Gregory Nava, he's a director. He did like the Latino movies when I was a kid. He did Selena.
Yeah.
So many other movies. So he's someone I look up to just creatively, because he's so influential, and he's so he made his mark in our culture.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm inspired by everybody, honestly. Like,
yeah, me too.
I just like, I'm so like, I just love to hear people talk and like hear their stories, and like I'm just so in awe from like people's different like experiences and perceptions and stuff. And I think it's a good trait that I have, and I'm sure I share with other writers, that we can like see like people's souls and like like feed off of it, and not in a creepy like vampire like way, but like in a beautiful way that kind of helps like flourish into this like these stories. And I love it.
Yeah,
I love it
because you also like get like the background on somebody. You get what makes them tick, who they are, where they came from, and then you're sort of putting all the puzzle together, and then because that's what story character building is, just trying to see who this person is, where they're going, like
Oh, definitely, and it's so real. You know what I mean? You need to have your characters based on reality, or else you can so tell. You know what I mean? It'll be just like convoluted. It'll be not clear.
And the audience won't follow along. It's like, why are they making this choice? Like,
exactly. So if you have if it's somebody that you're pulling from actual experiences, it makes a world of difference.
Yeah,
and I think that's something that every writer can do. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you won't be a writer if you couldn't do that. You know what I mean? I think it's great. I think it's really cool. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the last question of the podcast.
Okay.
So I asked my guest to help title the episode. So the prompt is a blank Latinx writer. So in that blank, you can put whatever you want. You can switch the words around. You can add more words. Just whatever you feel encompasses, your story, your writing, maybe what we talked about. Just to like let other people know who are listening. When they see the title, they're like, oh, that's someone like me. Let me listen to this so I can find someone that's, representation,
Okay.
So yeah.
What if I think mine would be like the daydreaming Latinx visionary.
Yeah.
That work?
That works.
Because I'm always like daydreaming. I'm always like thinking about, stuff I'm going to write. And it's always like, it's always there. I think about it every day. So yeah, I think that works for me. I like that.
Cool.
Cool.
So also, where can people find you? Give them your social media. If they want to.
I'm on Instagram. I'm Danny Picante. DANNYPICANTE. People think it's my last name actually, but it's not.
Yeah.
I wish it was my last name. That'd be cool to have a Picante last name.
That could be like your pet name or something.
Yeah, right? That'd be cool. Danny Picante. So yeah, I'm on there. You can go follow me and see how annoying I am. And
you're having a good time.
Having a good time. Posting stupid stuff. But yeah, come follow me and